Let's get right into it. Number 10. The Whispering Wind. Imagine you're scrolling through your feed, minding your own business, and suddenly you see it, a headline so outrageous, so perfectly crafted to poke at your deepest fears, that you can't help but click. Or maybe it's a rumor, whispered from a friend of a friend, about something truly wild happening just down the street. That, my friends, is the gentle caress of the whispering wind, otherwise known as propaganda and disinformation. It's not about bombs or bullets, it's about planting tiny, insidious seeds of doubt, fear, or even misplaced hope directly into the fertile soil of your brain. Armies have been doing this for centuries, long before algorithms decided what outrage to feed you next. They drop leaflets from planes, promising a warm meal and a soft bed to enemy soldiers, knowing full well that a hungry stomach and a tired mind are far more susceptible to suggestion than a well-fed, rested one. Or they'd broadcast fake news on radio waves, painting their own side as invincible heroes and the enemy as bumbling fools, all to chip away at morale, one carefully constructed lie at a time. It's psychological jujitsu, using your own cognitive biases against you, making you believe what they want you to believe, often without you even realizing it. Your brain, the ultimate echo chamber, just got a new playlist courtesy of the enemy's PR department. Number 9. The Ghost Army. Ever been to a party where someone swears they saw a celebrity, and suddenly everyone else is seeing them too, even if it's just a guy in a slightly too fancy hat? That's the vibe of the Ghost Army, a psychological weapon so brilliantly simple it's almost insulting. This isn't about actual ghosts, unless you count the spectral dread that washes over an enemy when they think they're facing an army 10 times their size. Historically, this was Genghis Khan's favorite party trick, ordering his soldiers to light 3 torches each at night, making his forces appear like an endless horde stretching to the horizon. Or tying branches to horses to kick up massive dust clouds, creating the illusion of a cavalry charge so immense it would make your ancestors weep. Fast forward to World War II, and the Allies were still playing this game, but with a much more inflatable twist. They created entire dummy armies of tanks, jeeps, and even planes out of rubber and canvas, complete with fake radio traffic and sound effects. Imagine being a German scout, peering through binoculars, only to see what looks like an entire armored division, then realizing it's just a bunch of glorified pool floats. The goal? To make the enemy overthink, overprepare, and ultimately, to make them run in the opposite direction before a single real shot is fired. Turns out, size does matter, especially when it's entirely fabricated and designed to make you wet your pants. Number 8. The Friendly Face. So, you're in a war zone. Things are, shall we say, tense. You expect bullets, bombs, maybe a strongly worded leaflet telling you to surrender. What you probably don't expect is a smiling soldier handing out candy to kids, or setting up a makeshift clinic to treat the sick. But that, my friends, is the insidious genius of the Hearts and Minds campaign. It's psychological warfare with a velvet glove, a tactic designed to win over the local population in enemy territory, not through brute force, but through benevolence. The idea is simple: if the people love you or at least prefer you to their current oppressors, or your actual enemies, they won't support the insurgency. They'll provide intelligence, deny safe haven to the bad guys, and generally make life a living hell for anyone trying to fight you. It's about turning the ground beneath the enemy's feet into quicksand, making them feel isolated and unsupported, even in their own backyard. This isn't about genuine altruism, mind you. It's a calculated move, a strategic deployment of goodwill designed to undermine the enemy's legitimacy and support base. They say the way to a man's heart is through his stomach. Turns out, it's also the way to dismantle an insurgency. Number 7. The Trojan Horse. Remember that time you got a suspiciously large, beautifully wrapped gift from that one friend who usually just sends you passive-aggressive memes? And then, when you opened it, a glitter bomb exploded in your face? Well, the Trojan Horse is basically that, but with significantly higher stakes and fewer sparkles. This ancient Greek maneuver, where a giant wooden horse filled with soldiers was presented as a peace offering to the city of Troy, is the OG of psychological deception. The Trojans, blinded by what they thought was a victory trophy, dragged it inside their impenetrable walls, only to wake up to a city full of very unwelcome guests. In modern warfare, this tactic isn't always a literal horse. It could be a seemingly innocuous piece of software that, once installed, opens a backdoor for cyberattacks. Or a humanitarian aid convoy that's secretly smuggling weapons. It's about exploiting trust, or even hubris, to introduce a hidden threat right into the heart of the enemy's defenses. You think you've won, you think you're safe, and then bam, you're surrounded by angry soldiers, or your entire infrastructure is suddenly offline. Never look a gift horse in the mouth, unless that gift horse is full of angry soldiers and your city is about to fall. Number 6. The Morale Meltdown. Ever had one of those days where everything just goes wrong? Your coffee spills, your internet dies, Your cat judges you silently from a high shelf. Now, imagine that feeling, but stretched over months, years, with a constant threat of violence, hunger, and the nagging suspicion that everything you're fighting for is pointless. Welcome to the morale meltdown, a psychological weapon designed to systematically erode an enemy's will to fight. This isn't about a single decisive blow, it's 1,000 tiny cuts. It's the relentless propaganda leaflets dropped from planes, showing pictures of your family back home, safe and sound, while you're freezing in a trench. It's the radio broadcasts playing your favorite music, interspersed with messages about how your leaders have abandoned you, how your cause is lost, and how easy it would be to just stop. It's the constant fear, the lack of sleep, the dwindling supplies, all conspiring to make you question every decision, every sacrifice. The goal isn't to kill you, it's to make you want to quit, to make you so utterly exhausted and hopeless that you just lay down your arms. Basically, your nervous system is throwing a tantrum in your honor, and the enemy just handed it a megaphone. Number 5. The Phantom Threat. Let's talk about fear. Not the jump scare in a horror movie kind of fear, but the deep existential dread that makes you question every shadow, every unfamiliar sound. This is the domain of the phantom threat, a psychological weapon that doesn't necessarily rely on direct engagement, but on the credible, pervasive threat of extreme violence. Think less about a frontal assault and more about a lingering, unseen terror that paralyzes populations. Historically, this has manifested as brutal tactics against civilian populations, collective punishment, public executions, or the deliberate spread of rumors about unspeakable atrocities. The goal isn't just to eliminate resistance, but to crush the will to resist, to make the cost of defiance seem so astronomically high that compliance becomes the only rational choice. It's why ancient conquerors would leave a trail of destruction, ensuring that tales of their ruthlessness preceded them, softening up the next city before they even arrived. In modern contexts, this might involve targeted assassinations that send a chilling message, or cyberattacks that cripple essential services, demonstrating a capacity for harm that feels omnipresent and unavoidable. Why bother with an army when a few well-placed screams, or the silent threat of digital annihilation, can do the job of 1,000 tanks? It's about making everyone think they could be next, turning every citizen into their own personal prison guard. Number 4. The Economic Squeeze. Ever tried to live without your morning coffee? Or, heaven forbid, your Wi-Fi? Now imagine that, but on a national scale. This isn't about blowing up factories, it's about making the factories irrelevant because no one can afford to buy what they produce, or the raw materials to make it. The economic squeeze is a psychological weapon that targets the very lifeblood of a nation, its economy. It's the silent, slow strangulation that makes people question their government, their leaders, and their entire way of life, all without a single shot being fired. This can involve blockades, sanctions, tariffs, or even cyberattacks designed to cripple financial systems. The goal is to create such widespread economic hardship, soaring inflation, mass unemployment, shortages of essential goods, that the population turns against its own leadership, demanding an end to the conflict at any cost. It's a war fought in spreadsheets and supply chains, where the casualties are not just soldiers, but entire industries and the livelihoods of millions. Who needs bombs when you can just turn off the lights and watch society collectively lose its mind over the price of bread? It's a brutal reminder that sometimes, the most effective way to break a nation isn't by force, but by making sure their wallets are emptier than a politician's promises. Number 3. The Digital Ghost. Remember when your grandma accidentally clicked on that email from a Nigerian prince and suddenly her computer was speaking in tongues? Multiply that by 1,000,000, add a dash of geopolitical intrigue, and you're getting close to the digital ghost. This is the modern battlefield where data is the new ammunition, and your personal information is just collateral damage. We're talking about cyber warfare, folks, hacking into enemy infrastructure, disrupting power grids, messing with financial markets, or even just spreading so much digital chaos that no one knows what's real anymore. It's the ultimate psychological weapon for the 21st century, because it exploits our absolute reliance on interconnected systems. Imagine waking up to find your bank account empty, your traffic lights stuck on red, and every news outlet reporting conflicting stories about an impending alien invasion. The goal isn't necessarily to destroy physical assets, but to create widespread panic, distrust, and paralysis. It's about making the enemy doubt their own reality, their own institutions, and even their own sanity. Your firewall is strong, but your uncle's Facebook feed? That's the real vulnerability. Because when the digital world becomes a hall of mirrors, the enemy doesn't need to fire a shot to win, they just need to watch you trip over your own paranoia. Number 2. The mirror image. Ever been in an argument where someone says, "I didn't do it, they did it," and points the finger at the most unlikely suspect? Well, the mirror image is that childish playground tactic, but with global consequences and significantly more explosions. This is the art of the false flag operation, making an attack or action appear to be carried out by someone else to provoke a reaction or justify intervention. It's the ultimate blame game, designed to manipulate public opinion, rally support for a war, or simply sow discord between adversaries. Imagine a country staging an attack on its own ships, then blaming a rival nation to justify an invasion. Or a covert operation designed to look like a terrorist act by a specific group, all to turn public sentiment against them. The psychological impact is profound. It creates confusion, fuels paranoia, and can lead to devastating miscalculations. It exploits our inherent need to assign blame and our tendency to believe what we're told, especially when it confirms our existing biases. When you want to start a fight, but don't want to get your own hands dirty, just borrow someone else's uniform. Because in the grand theater of war, sometimes the most convincing performance is the one where you're playing the victim, even when you're the director. Number 1. The erosion of trust. Think about the last time you felt truly betrayed. That gut-wrenching feeling when someone you relied on, someone you believed in, pulled the rug out from under you. Now, imagine that feeling amplified across an entire society, a slow, insidious rot that eats away at the very foundations of human connection. This, my friends, is the ultimate silent psychological weapon, the erosion of trust. It's not about a single tactic, but the cumulative effect of all the propaganda, deception, terror, and economic hardship. When you can't trust your leaders, your news, your neighbors, or even the information coming from your own government, what's left? This weapon targets the social fabric itself, turning citizens against each other, soldiers against their commanders, and entire communities into isolated islands of suspicion. Once trust is gone, cooperation crumbles, morale evaporates, and the will to collectively resist or even simply exist harmoniously disappears. It's the ultimate victory for an adversary, achieved not by conquering territory, but by conquering the collective psyche. Because a society that can't trust itself is a society that's already lost. In the end, the real weapon wasn't the bomb, the leaflet, or the fake news. It was the quiet, creeping suspicion that made you question everything, including yourself. That's all for today. I'll be making similar videos in the future. Subscribe to see them.